Hey there guys, how you doing? This is Ice9 and we're going to do another Mad Mobile video. We're going to cover positional heroes for the week, talk a little bit about players in general, complain a little bit as usual, as I usually do. And we're going to start off here though with the NFL draft. So one Stamina Thursday coming up for us tomorrow. And I haven't seen too much posted on this in Mudhead. I posted something, wasn't really responded back to, but EA has announced via Twitter that as soon as the players are picked, that they are going to be in the game. They're going to have a live event specific to that, and they're going to be in the game instantly. And that made me think of something I don't know if many people have thought of as of yet. So we know how these sets work now. We've got our draft legends. We're going to talk about those a little bit. We have to get 10 closed envelopes in order to get a podium, and we need 25 podiums in order to get one of the wild cards here. And then if we don't get a pick that we want, we already have the pick, or we want to try to risk it and get a higher pick, then we put it in this draft trade set complete with 5 more podiums and try to get a better pick. I've done it a few times, as you could see, and I've gotten a lot of crappy picks. I finally did get a number 2 pick, and then I just decided, you know what, this is just totally useless. I'm going to go ahead and get the number 1 pick, which is what I ended up doing. Okay. Now, when these players are pulled tomorrow, herein lies the problem. Not a problem for that 1 pick. Obviously, we want to get that pull when it comes out. But if that, say the 10th pick, once that player is selected in the draft, I think possibly, and there's at least the possibility, and knowing how EA works, it wouldn't surprise me at all if that 10th player is picked and you go ahead and you are jamming through this 1 stamina a day and you get 25 podiums, you put them in. That is going to be a good day for stamina refills, obviously. It's about $6 per 98 or 99 player, which is really not that bad of math at all, and that's if you don't get any podiums through the live event. I've definitely gotten a few podiums through the live event, so that'll speed things up a little bit. So figure $5 or $6 of stamina refills per player, which isn't too bad. But once you go through and say that 10th pick is picked, and you go through and you get number 10, that means possibly I could see something like the Easter crystal eggs after Easter, where they open up automatically. If that's the case, that means if you get the 10th pick, you have no opportunity to use this trade-in set, and you're going to have the 10th pick. You're going to be stuck with that pick. I don't know 100% if that's the case, but when EA said that the players are going to be right in the game right as they are picked, if that's the case, that could certainly happen. And what that means, it's going to be 1 stamina day all day tomorrow. If I wasn't at work, and I'm going to be working until about 6:30 p.m., but if I wasn't working, I would be jamming on the 1 stamina day early and trying to get all the picks that I can while I know I can use this trade set. And so if you have the opportunity to do that, I mean, a lot of people work, they go to school, they're not going to be able to really take advantage of that earlier in the day. But if you can, I would recommend doing that earlier rather than later and trying to get your picks just in case something like that happens. All right, so we will see. And then, you can't complain much about this so far, but we haven't seen the 10 players and what they look like. It still looks like, the Browns are saying they might take a QB. They might trade their pick down. They might trade down. They might do any number of things. But for the time being, it looks like Myles Garrett should be the #1 overall pick. Now, we know unpredictable things happen in the draft, so we will see what happens, but that should be the case. Now, I've got the 1 and 2 pick. I like to have 3, 4, and 5 as well. The issue is it looks like there might be a halfback taken in the top 5, and that would do me, unless it was a really, really great player where I didn't care. I've got Dorsett, who I can't even sell, with a agility boost. So a running back pick wouldn't be necessarily the best pickup for me. What would be a good pick for me, and I think for a lot of people, is a defensive end with a boost. And we will see what this boost looks like. Doubt it'll be a speed boost. There's too many #1 cards out there. That would be something EA could do that would really balance the game a little bit and really bring some juice into the event and really obviously bring up the value of that 1 pick. Doubt that they're going to do that, but we will see what the boost has for that. If it is a speed boost, pretty much I'd have a heart attack and drop dead, knowing the way EA works. What I have some trepidations, I guess I could say, about how these players are going to be, because I know a lot of them look like they're going to be defensive players. There might be 3 defensive ends drafted in the top 10, as somebody in my league, Fletch, said. So if that's the case, that is going to be a lot of defensive ends. We'll see how that works, but once again, keeping in mind what EA has done with draft players in the past, are they going to have really low awareness and play recognition? If that's the case, that might be kind of unfortunate, especially if there's linebackers and, some other positions. Defensive end, play recognition certainly matters. Even a player with 78 awareness, for example, you could boost it up a lot, but it's going to be virtually impossible to boost it up to 99, so that would be kind of a tough thing. But we are just going to have to wait and see, and these players, especially tomorrow with 1 stamina, they're going to be easy to get. But because of what I mentioned, the 1 pick may not go down too much in value. If the player's picked and then the top 10 are selected, and then we start doing this set, and whatever we get, the wild card set, whatever we get is whatever we get with no chance to use the trade-in. That'll mean, depending on what EA does with drop rates, and we know how EA is about drop rates, it's not random. That 1 pick might keep some value and might be really tough to get tomorrow. That would be something that EA could do, is bring the drop rates way down and just do it that way. So we're going to have to see. Now, didn't really cover this, but we'll go through it. Our first set of mystery boxes opened, and of course they were fan favorite packs. I think it was about 8 of them. Didn't get any Ultimate Legend boss pulls or anything like that, but some people did, which is really, really cool. This is a store pack that they had. Of course, with all those training weights, I just had to stuff them into sets and get rid of them. Have no real interest in doing any of the fan favorite sets at all. Just not worth it. But they made them a lot more desirable to do for somebody who wanted 1 card or whatever. I still think they're kind of a waste. And we'll see what happens in the long run if that promo and those sets are going to end up going away, or if they're going to stay around. We're definitely going to have to see how that works. Gauntlet today is the field goal challenge. I heard it's fairly tough. Got to kick it straight. I don't know. I guess if I was doing this thing and I was still working on Gauntlet, I might try something like using a credit card or something, just to, to swipe a little bit straighter, put it on the screen, and then see how that works. That might be something that works pretty well, actually. But, I am done with it, so not even going to go near it, even though it's a pretty hefty coin reward for the first play. Still, it's 10 stamina, and I'm trying to get all the podiums I can before tomorrow. All right, let's go through Positional Heroes. Actually, let's cover something else before we do Positional Heroes. Head to head, you could see that I am ranked now at 6,730. And there's been a lot of theories and a lot of, what is going on with this. This is what I think is happening with this. I think they just reset the standings for whatever reason. I don't know why EA decided to do this, but now I was ranked in the 600s and now I'm 6730. But it's just, again, I don't know why it happened or what happened. It seems like it was probably just reset, and if I got to climb all the way up again into the top 1,000, I'm just not excited about that prospect, I guess I could say. My interest level in the game at that point is, not enough to grind through a lot of head-to-head all over again. I'm just going to continue to play people back and just kind of do it that way. So that was something that happened. I don't know what happened, but it seems like it was reset. That's what it seems like to me. The rankings were reset for head-to-head. And I don't know why. They didn't do it to leagues. If they had done it to leagues, there would be an uproar right now. But they did it to head-to-head rankings, seems to me. All right, let's go through positional heroes for the week. And this has been very typical of positional heroes all year, where we have one good player and one kind of meh, sucky player. All right, so they're all 99s at this point. And we could see here with Rodney that this is a good card. Really good stats. Not sure what the PLR, jump, and catch are. Those are and block shed. Those are the things that I'd want to know. But what's interesting is this is another free safety. There are going to be people who say that, Eric Berry deserved it, or Landon Collins definitely deserved it this year. They gave it to McLeod here. It's not a horrible pick. He's kind of underrated, so I'm kind of glad he got a good card in a way. Collins would have been a better card, no doubt about that. Definitely more deserving. Barry is probably more deserving as well. But it is cool that he got a card. But the interesting thing is, so between this guy and the no jump Eric Weddle card, we've got a couple of kind of shorter 5'10", 5'11" free safeties that have been picked. No strong safety in there, so no balance. No big tall guy to put on Gronk or Olsen in there. Now, comparing Weddle's card here, and again, that's a pretty decent card. Really, really good card with that 93. Man just can't jump. You can throw it over him. I have seen that. I've done that. Really good in zone coverage, playing underneath. But if you could throw it over the top of it, it's definitely the Weddle card's weakness. Not sure what the jump stat is on this card. Not as strong, but the zone coverage is really, really good. And again, the man at 88 is definitely not bad at all. Pretty good speed and acceleration, tackle, pursuit. Everything is pretty decent on this card. Seeing what the PLR is and seeing what the block shed is will make a bit of difference. But I do like putting the smaller, better cover guy at free safety and putting the bigger, stronger, higher block shed guy at strong safety, especially because a lot of plays, unless you flip them, go to the right. So having that better run stopping safety is better. Now with this, we got a couple of free safeties, so it's kind of an interesting thing. And to an extent, I think it's, what EA has done with safeties, even though, some of the cornerbacks have been really pretty overpowered and pretty good. But the safeties are a position that EA has kind of held back a little bit on this year. There's no all-rookie Doc card. The Doc Ultimate Legend card this year wasn't as strong as the all-rookie card last year. It's worked a little bit different. There's no Silver Medal Master, as I've often mentioned. There's no Chancellor card. There's no set Ronnie Lott card with really, really strong hit power and zone coverage and things like that. So the safeties haven't been as good. A lot of positions haven't been as good. They've been slower to bring out better players. and faster players too. They've really held the speed back as part of this whole thing, as well as the speed boosters to help out a whole team, as I've often mentioned, other than the pack only lottery players, as I like to call them, those 1 in 100 team players that some get, and most people don't get those players. But anyway, so this is a pretty good card, and it's a 105 true overall. So it's a really good card for overall. It should be good for gameplay. Just a really, really good card altogether. And then there was the other positional hero for the week, and a stacked position quarterback. And my man Drew Brees, just by picking a shorter quarterback, that's going to make a lot of people, myself included, groan. And when you hear it's Brees, you know what EA is going to do with the card. Typically, while his height is his height, he's 6 foot tall. They're going to make him slow. He's not going to have much throw power, and he's going to have really good throw accuracies. And that's exactly what this card is. 77 speed, 76 acceleration, 93 throw power. And, looking at this whole thing, if you've got a shorter quarterback, it is a little bit of a disadvantage, because if you play in the pocket like I often do, you're going to have more balls batted down. I've figured that out the first year when I used positional hero Russell Wilson. Really liked the card, really liked Danger Russ, but ended up actually selling the card and going with Mobile Master Brady instead. Just because of the height in the pocket, because the way I like to play. So if you got a shorter guy, if you got a Vic, or if you got a Brees, or you got a Russell Wilson, or any card like that, ideally you want to be able to roll out of the pocket and away from the line. That way you'll get less batted balls, extend plays, etc. But this guy doesn't have the mobility. So he doesn't have really good mobility. He's not very tall. He's got really high base awareness. Who cares? 93 throw power. I've played with Brady with 94 throw power. Playing with Elway or Favre is definitely an advantage in a lot of situations, even with that +2 or, +5. It definitely, you could throw a better long ball with a Favre card or an Elway card. So this is just one of those cards where it just shows me once and for all that EA doesn't make money off of positional heroes. They're basically, people put them together with players that they buy at the auction house or that they've saved up, or etc. So EA doesn't make any money off of it like they would, for example, off of draft or getting people ripping through packs with Ultimate Legend bosses or anything like that. So they're just not going to make the stats that great. And with the other card, they did make the stats really good, but a lot of the positional heroes, even the 99s, have had some fairly serious deficiencies in those cards, whether it's Weddle with the jump or, it's Upati with the pass blocking, or now this card, because now we have a short guy who's not very mobile and doesn't have very good throw power and no boost. Why would you play this card over Brady, would be my question. Why would you do it? If it was mid-80 speed and acceleration and he was a bit more mobile, the card would be more interesting. But it's like EA says, we don't care. We're going to not totally burn you out. We're going to give you a good card here and there through positional heroes, but we're not going to give you a lot of really good cards. We're going to save that premium content for lottery picks, picking through cards, or fairly difficult to do sets. That's what they're doing. And a lot of the even difficult to do sets like Gold Medal Master or Silver Medal Master are not there. EA saying, we want you to play a promo when it comes out, spend all kinds of money on stamina refills or packs, and we really don't care as much about these other programs. That's really what it says. And this year, maybe because of how good it was last year, it's unfortunate. And for those who played Madden Mobile the first year, the positional heroes at the end of the year ended up making legacy teams, a lot of them. You know, I remember that they had a Des Bryant card with like 102 speed or something like that. It was absolutely sick, that card. And there were other cards like that, O-linemen that were really, really good. You know, defensive ends that were good, tackles that were good. There were just really, really good cards comparable to an Ultimate Legend from this year, and they were comparable to a Mobile Master, which is Ultimate Legends now that year. But now that's really changed. It's another level of content. You have good 99s, then you have weak 99s, then you have really good 99s, and then you have the pack only +2 boost 99s, like the Randy Moss card, the boss card, as opposed to the set card, where the card's not only a lot better than the set card, but it also has a great boost on it. So, kind of unfortunate. We'll see what EA does. All right, and then this Unsung Heroes, which I don't even pay attention to. Thank goodness for the Aga Power, because I don't care. You know, but some of the players, these are really better than 96s. If you look at it, 93 zone coverage for a linebacker with 93 speed, and it's only a 96 overall. I'm not sure what the block shed or the play recognition are, but the front page stats are pretty good. But they're 96 with no boost. And on my team and a lot of people's teams by this point, if you got a 96 player on your team, a true 96 overall without any boost, he better have a boost himself. These do not. You're only really doing this to get the Doomsday. If you're going after the Doomsday, have fun. More power to you. I don't care. Thank goodness that they did the Aga Power thing. Good news for Ultimate Legends. We'll just go over this in general. Earlier on last year, there was a big difference between the set and the boss players, even though there was no boost on the boss players last year, which tightened the gap a little bit. This year now, they are becoming better players. So I'm going to do Randall at some point. I could see this as a really solid defensive tackle for sure. I'm going to allow some weeks to go on and for his price to get less before I go ahead and buy him or do the set. Same thing here with the Newsom card. 94 speed's pretty good, even though he's 6'2". Blocking stats aren't bad. And the Sanders card, obviously pretty close to the Ultimate Legend boss. Not a bad card at all. And same thing with the Hutchinson card with pass and run blocks in the mid-90s and an impact block of 93. You know, so hoping that somebody a little bit faster comes out, but I'd rather have this card than the Uopati card for sure. It's a little bit more well-rounded. But I'm going to see what else comes out before I go spending all kinds of money doing Ultimate Legends for sure. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And then, you know, some of the other weekly things, you know, eventually I guess we'll get a throwback with +2 speed. And it looks like we've got, wow, in the locker, what do we have now? Because I don't see fan favorites. Oh, season stars are there. Oh my gosh, champion, the flashbacks neglected, and then the CFL legends. Specialists, who cares? And we're going to go, actually, that reminded me though, I'm going to go back into those draft legends. But where are the fan favorites? Wow, okay, so they're in the locker now. This is done. Thanks for playing. Saving up all those training weights and stuffing them in every set that I could, hoping that they go up in overalls, but that is done. Officially in the locker, along with season stars. And, you know, the question is now, how are they going to replace it? What are they going to come out with? It'll be interesting to see, because, you know, we got one that's a once a week Ultimate Legends, that'll be there no matter what. We've got Unsung Heroes, which in my opinion is useless and kind of a flop. Positional Heroes will be finishing up. Only some of those players will be good enough. Throwbacks, I don't know what they're doing this. Eventually they'll do a speed booster, just at probably in July or something that's too late to really make much of a difference for people's teams. But eventually they'll do a speed booster, and then just not a lot going on besides our Easter, which is finishing up. Wow, a little bit, a day and a half left on that. And then here, let's get into this. So our draft legends, and I'm not doing any of these. 98 players are not really going to help my team much. This is a good card right here, and they do have the field goal challenge that was somewhat difficult today in Gauntlet, so this would be a good card to have for it. And this is what you want to see in a kicker. Forget the speed, strength, and awareness. Give me kick power and kick accuracy. So this is an excellent card for that. Going to be good for challenges and kicking long field goals and head-to-head like I like to do from time to time. Not a bad card at all. Just, the good thing is they don't expire the same day or, in a 24-hour period. So you can see your options before you have to select one. Instead of something like Super Bowl, where you either had to do that set right there or was going to disappear and there's going to be a new one the next day. This one's going to give us some options. So I could see doing this card, but Positional Heroes is probably where I'm going to get a kicker and punter for the end of the year. It's only really a card for overall. That's all it really affects. And I will remind people that Positional Heroes in years past, because the kickers and the punters are rare, especially the elites and the golds too, usually less cards, gold and elite, are required to do the positional heroes at those positions. And then we look at the other cards, and then yet another 98 Brandon Marshall. He's too faster than the other card, but with no boost, which was a strength and awareness boost, it was actually pretty useful. Don't really know how this card's going to play. It looks like it's going to be pretty good, but why, EA? Is what I got to say. Why do we have a Brandon Marshall card that's a 98 with no boost 3 months after you had that card for the Pro Bowl already? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Geno Atkins here. I would advise, unless you're a big Geno Atkins card fan and you want this card, not an economical way to use 25 podiums. I'd much rather risk getting one of the 99s or doing what it takes to get a pick in the top 5 than getting this card. This is a good 98 D tackle with good hit power, decent hit power at least, good power moves, really good speed, okay acceleration. It's not a bad card. The thing is that there's a bunch of 98, 99 defensive tackles now in the game. And so why use all your resources, all your podiums to get this player when you could go buy somebody's like Juan Short positional hero for whatever that's going for? Well, actually, you know what? We'll check it in the auction house. We'll look up positional hero Short and see what he's going for. Just looking up Moss here, hoping for a deal on the Boss card. There was a couple going for $30 million yesterday, but I'm kind of short of that. So here, let's look up Short. And then you could use Combine Poe too, but Short here, yeah, this is what I figured. Somewhere in that 300,000 to 400,000 area is what this card is going for. And sitting, so you could probably get him, somewhere in the mid threes, maybe even 300,000. Why would you not want to do that and try to risk trying to get one of those top 5 picks? Is what I would say about that. All right, other cards. So we see EA trolling with the Marshall card. The sitting card here, it's definitely more of a versatile player than the Opati card, with a really good pass block and decent impact block at 92, just not real fast, not really good acceleration. And then the Sherm card here, I mean, this is, I'd rather play Peters or obviously NTL than Sherman here, corner 1 or 2. Sherman makes a really good dime, and this is a really high strength card with decent tackle. This is a good dime, but the thing is there's no boost in a dime. You know, ideally that's a perfect player or perfect place to hide a boosted player. You know, like his league card, for example. Or now the Super Bowl Mel Blount card is a really good dime. So I don't know. You know, for some teams that might be a relevant card. It's just for my team it isn't. But we'll see how the rest of this goes. So keep that in mind, what I said about draft day tomorrow and 1 stamina day. If these players are going to be in the game right away, this set might be taken right out of play. So you got to keep that in mind. If you can play it early to get those good picks, if you're trying to use stamina to do them, that'd be the time to do them. Or hopefully earlier in the day, that'll bring down the price on pick number 1. And let's check that out right now. I bought him for $3 million. Let's look up the 1 pick through the draft. We're going to get 10 too, but there's 4.5. There's 2.4. If I had only been a little more patient, as usual. There's somebody who wants a lot. All right, so 2.39, $2.5 million. Probably the occasional snipe because that's sitting there at that price. There's one at 10 million. Yeah, that'll sit. Yeah, 2.3, that one sold. And there's another one, 2.3, it's selling right now. You know, so that's, and there's a fair amount of them out there. Not a bad amount of them out there. We'll see what tomorrow brings for us with this thing. And, you know, complain about positional heroes and no silver medal master, gold medal master, or all rookie, even though we did have all pro this year. And we had some other promos. Part of the difficulty that EA has gotten into is they've brought out a lot of good content around the Super Bowl with Pro Bowl, Super Bowl players, and then the All-Pro players with Peters and Zach Martin, which were really good cards. Martin will make my legacy team for sure. I don't see, you know, better guards coming out. But they just haven't done a lot of really good players since then. Occasionally you'll get an NTL. You'll get all the pull-only players. Ultimate Legends are getting better. But the positional heroes, you know, it's there's good players here and there through that, but overall they're kind of weak. And we'll see what EA brings out to try to, you know, keep life in the game, really, at this point. Now we are playing the Orange Men, who are ranked 1,132. And I wanted to illustrate a point about all that is wrong with Madden Mobile this year as I see it. And I'm a pretty serious player, and I know there are players more serious and better players than me, but I'm a fairly serious player in this game. But one thing that I do notice is that since the Super Bowl, since they made the changes to gameplay through League to League, since they brought out the counter severity and based a lot on overall and etc., that this game has become a lot more frustrating for a lot of people and for new players or players who are more intermediate and, you know, don't have great teams. This is what it could look like. And this is just one day in the life of someone, and they're really outstandingly bad luck. You know, so you know, maybe all of us, before we take our league-to-league drives or what have you, we got to pray to the counter gods or do something. Make a sacrifice. Do something. Look at what this guy had to face today against Double J. Now, a lot of this is his own fault. 3 100% counters. Seam 678. Countered fairly frequently. Strong Twins Cross. Yeah, that's countered quite a bit. Blast. is countered quite a bit. So 4, 5 straight counters, 3 of them hard counters. Now he plays against Ative, and Ative, shame on him. He doesn't have strong IPA tight end corner countered. And or strong twins cross, doesn't have it hard countered. Shame on him. Trips all go, which is kind of a cheese play. Gets a nice completion. But then he starts hitting the counter 17%er. Stutter post at 14% and doesn't get a completion on HB option. Then he plays me with the ultimate free setup in 3 out of 4 critical counters because he is a 93 overall taking on a 102 overall and a 103 defense, 104 with boosters. So almost every counter is going to be a critical. And, what I have to say about it, yes, once again, people should be rewarded for putting together a good team and a good game plan and working on the game and working the auction house and spending money or whatever the case may be. But it's gone too far this direction, way too far in this direction. And, I don't think with some of the changes that they've made, they would have gotten away with that at the beginning of the year. If they had made this game this hard at the beginning of the year, or there was such a big difference between teams and leagues based on overalls and game plans, then the game's sales and revenue would have been a lot lower earlier on in the year. I think that they did that after the Super Bowl because usually the more hardcore players hang around. I know that's the case in my league. And then they decide to make it tougher and make it more dependent on overall while making it tougher to improve your overall with no options like Gold Medal Master, Silver Medal Master, or set-based 99 boosters, for example. There's been a real lack of those type of players. So this is not on accident. Last year, I think EA was really generous and they had a lot of creative, good promos that really kept the game fun for a long time. Kept up on game changers, kept on flashbacks, had all rookie, had gold medal master, had silver medal master, had slightly easier to do Ultimate Legend sets. I think they were a little bit easier to do last year. I might be mistaken, but the players were definitely, the set players were definitely a little bit better, although that's becoming more like last year now with the Randall card and some of the other set-based cards that are coming out, but just harder to improve overall at a time when we are seeing teams that are 106, 107, 108 overalls and hundreds of millions of coins and players, and where it all matters now to gameplay. There are people who say that, having a 90 overall because there's a nerf that it makes it easier. I actually did a video a couple months ago. I didn't end up putting it online because I changed. It was kind of a fun thing. It was a fun idea, and I changed my whole team to the backups of everybody that I had on my team. So if it was a silver player, it was a silver player. If it was a bronze player, it was a bronze player. If it was a gold player, it was a gold player. And I had this 71 offense, and I was taking on, guys in my league and seeing how I did. This was before the gameplay update, and so I scored. I did pretty well, but there were disadvantages. When you've got a quarterback with throw power in the 70s, and throw accuracy is also kind of dicey, you have to be pretty good, in terms about getting fitting balls in there and stuff like that. So that is the case that there's a nerf. However, in other words, the nerf is when you take on a higher overall team, EA will nerf that team. In other words, they won't play quite as well, and the worst team will play quite a bit better. But on balance, what I've seen is that, You know, for example, when I take on a 106 defense or a 107 or a 108, I know I'm taking on a 106, 107, and 108. You know, especially if there's speed boosters on the team. And usually a team with that high of overall has all three. It has Vic, it has CJ2K, and it has Boss, Randy Moss on there. Those teams play incredibly. They're not nerfed, what I've seen in league to league. Occasionally in head-to-head, I've played a couple where maybe they just didn't have the right counters picked up, but, you know, I played pretty well. So the nerf might be a factor sometimes, but we could see that there's no nerf in effect on this one. You know, I mean, trips HB screen on 3rd and 19, just kind of a toughie. But every counter he caught was a critical. And I don't have a single play countered over 50%. You know, I have 3 and 2 ultimate freeze, soft counters. You know, this is 3 run, short pass, and 2 long pass, play action pass, and the egg of power in there. You know, with this. Nothing's over 50%. So, but suddenly, I mean, it's only 4 plays, small sample, but under 50% became 75%. You know, 100% counters. You know, granted, 3 of them were hard counters. He ran right into them. But, you know, boy, you know, people running into this, more intermediate players, and they're getting it handed to them every time they play a better league in league to league. It's going to make some people want to play better. It's going to make us all play better. I know I've become a better player this year, no doubt about it, but it's frustrating and kind of arbitrary, you know, the way that they're implementing difficulty into the game. It seems to me. It seems frustrating, arbitrary, and a little bit unfair. And when I look at this, you know, this is just, you know, a bad day for someone. But man, that really kind of stinks. It really does. You know, and that's all that I have to say about that. Really want to play next year. You know, I hope I can play. You know, I don't want to invest the kind of time to put together a good team that I did this year. I'm getting tired of that to a certain extent. I think that's part of my problem with that game, with this game, and we'll see how that works next year. Once you go through it enough times, you get your team taken away enough times. Once you see work so hard on it and getting a player, only to see a better replacement come out in the next month or two that's much easier to get, you know, designed obsolescence, it wears on you. It really does. And I try to focus less on the promos. You know, that's probably a healthy way to look at this game, is focusing on that. But when you see the disparity in overalls and how it affects gameplay, especially in league to league now, it's hard to ignore. And you know, and that is the point that I'll continue to beat the dead horse. You know, and I doubt EA's watching my videos, but if enough people become aware and say something about it, if they feel the same way, or, you know, it'll at least promote a discussion, because things should not be this way, in my opinion. 242 to 52. It's truly, truly sad. You know, never really had a chance. I mean, it's just tough. Just a tough thing. But that's it, guys. Enough complaining. And, you know, I'm sure I'm going to be working hard like a lot of you are on One Stamina Thursday for draft day. So I'm going to be working on that. We'll see what players we get. And then I'll cover that probably with Ultimate Legends on Sunday. Thanks for watching, guys.